Welcome to the Toke&Trans. What do I say? Welcome to the Toke&Trans podcast, where we talk life, love, and getting high. Grab a J and join us. We do not condone the consumption of illicit activities with anyone under the age of 21.
Happy Sunday, everybody. It's your favorite day of the week with your two favorite Toke&Trans guys. How are you doing? How you doing, Beau?
I'm doing good. I just got this new sweater, so
yes, I love
the first
that.
time I'm covering my chest.
Normally, Beau is showing his wonderful physique, but this time he's got the sweater because we're going to be teaching you guys a lesson. We're going to teach you what we know. How about that? And you can also help us learn in the comments by helping us learn together, because that's what we're doing. Right, Beau?
I'm a college dropout, so
Me too. Also,
awesome.
same. Both of us are college dropouts, but you know, we're living our best lives, so whatever.
So we're doing vocabulary.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of terms.
A lot of terms, a lot of things, a lot of acronyms.
Yeah, definitely acronyms. And it can be a little confusing at first if you don't know what these words mean, especially if you're like related to someone who's in the community, or if you're new to the community yourselves. I've found myself in these situations where these like words are brought up, and where I think I know what the majority of them mean, and then when they use them in conversation, I'm like, ooh, they lost me. So I'm hoping that this episode can be helpful for you guys in that way.
And you know, I'm gonna talk about, because you know, if I assume that our listener knows what these words mean, I would be describing them differently. So I'm gonna pretend that I'm talking to like my grandmother.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna do a lesson here,
right,
to make it easy.
So maybe send this to your grandma,
Especially if you have a stoner grandma. This is the one for the stoner grandmas.
Shout out to all the stoner grandmas.
Yes, snaps for them. Okay, I'm loving it. I think you should kick us off with our first term.
Awesome. Okay, so our first term is turf.
Turf. I've seen that.
Turf.
I've seen that.
That is, yeah. Yeah, me too.
What does it stand for?
So turf is an acronym. TERF. It stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. Now,
that's a mouthful.
Right. That is a mouthful, which is why we call them TERFs.
Right.
And right. So TERF is a term that you would refer to famously and topically. J.K. Rowling would be considered a TERF based upon her views towards specifically trans women. Because she is under the belief that, you know, under the false belief that trans women are not women and are in fact men parading around to be women for some reason. I don't, you know, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But
so they're exclusionary. They're like, it's the people that exclude trans people as valid people. Right.
And they it's under the guise of radical feminism, that they're so feminist that they're like under their beliefs that they are protecting womanhood, and that trans women existing is an attack on their womanhood, and that womanhood is inherently cis, and that trans women cannot experience that. Right. So, some of us who are actually feminist find that term pretty offensive, because there's nothing radical or feminist about being exclusionary to trans people. Right. So it has changed that term to a rather more fun acronym.
You have, or this is like the community has.
The community. I cannot. I do not know from whence it came.
For sure,
but it was someone's idea.
Someone's idea,
and then it spread.
Yeah.
Yes, and it spread for very, very good reason. Because like I said before, the person who decided to change this, or collective group, whatever wherever the idea came from, decided that it truly wasn't feminist or radical to be exclusionary of trans people. So that acronym no longer fit that group. Right. But so now we have a different acronym, FART.
FART. F-A-R-T.
F-A-R-T.
And that stands for?
And that stands for feminist appropriating ridiculous transphobe. Because that's what they are. They are appropriating feminists while being ridiculous transphobes. Wow. And I like that much better. I like calling J.K. Rowling a fart much better.
That would make okay. So I feel like that already was made more sense to me. Right? What I thought that meant was not what I meant. What I thought it meant. I thought that meant that you have to have dysphoria to be trans. People that believe that.
Oh no, that's not even on our list. But since you brought it up, let's bring it up. That's that is called transmedicalism.
Okay, trans medicalists. Yeah,
right. Transmedicalists think that transness is a condition to have.
Right.
And I think this stemmed from dysphoria being in the DSM-5 as a mental illness. Mm-hmm. And because in the transmedicalist's mind, one cannot be trans without having some kind of dysphoria.
Right.
And because dysphoria is in the DSM-5,
the actual, like the medical definition of the illness.
Right. Then logic would follow that under their belief, one cannot be trans and not have this condition or whatever. So.
Right. So our first term, I was wrong. That's awesome. I thought these were like basic, but not so much.
TERFs are cis people who think that transness is, and like trans men are gender betrayers who were brainwashed by the patriarchy.
Okay, I see. I got you. Now I've got it. I've got it now.
TERFs are white women. Mostly.
Right.
I have come across non-white TERFs, farts.
No, yeah, I got
there's all kinds of farts, but they're all cis women.
Yes, I see. And the transmedicalists too. Now I feel like I understand what that word means too.
Yeah, and transmedicalists exist within the trans community.
Yeah, that's one of an inter-community. I don't even know what to describe it. Agitation. It's what it is. It's gatekeeping. Saying you can't be trans unless X, Y, and Z. So that's not nice.
Right. Let's leave that to the gender therapists and the psychologists whose job it is to help us on our gender journey.
Yeah.
And if you have nothing nice to say about someone's gender journey, then block them and keep your mouth shut. It's really that easy.
Yeah. Just keeping focus on your own deal, not someone else's.
Mind your business.
Very easy too. Very easy to do it here.
Yeah.
Another acronym. We've got the AFAB, right?
AFAB.
AFAB, assigned
Yeah.
female at birth.
Right. Yep. That's what that means.
So you were born
then
and given female because of your genitalia.
Genitalia. Yeah. But this can also be a misnomer because intersex people often get assigned a gender at birth. And that's also, that's what it's supposed to mean. Like, this was the gender I was assigned at birth. You don't know, I could be intersex. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's so many ways that secondary sex characteristics and even primary sex characteristics can prevent themselves in the human race. And despite what a lot of people like to argue, there's more than 2 ways for chromosomes to present themselves in human species as well. So intersex, someone could be
what does it mean to be intersex then?
Right. So intersex means you have any number of chromosomal combinations that isn't the typical XX or XY compared to your assigned gender at birth. It could mean that you have certain presenting physical characteristics that might be deemed abnormal or parallel to the way that we typically understand those things to be developed. And
like a combination of
right. It could be any combination of things.
Right.
It could be someone who, there's some people who have no idea that they're intersex until they try to get pregnant, and then they find out they have internal ovaries or internal gonads or something,
yeah.
And then, it's not like that person was assigned female at birth, but
right, that makes sense.
And they're a female, they're a woman, they identify as a woman.
Right.
As far as they knew that they were cis, and
and
I mean, technically they are, because if they were assigned female at birth, that's the definition of cisgender, is being aligned with your assigned gender at birth.
Right. Yeah.
So an intersex person can also be cis technically, but they are a part of the community. Right. And they do amount to the same amount of the population as trans people do, 2%.
Yeah. Oh, right. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And then the same thing as AFAB. There's like a MAB, which, I mean, do people say that like that? I don't know. Do they?
AMAB, yeah.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
Or do they spell it out?
If you say it out loud.
Yeah.
So,
and that one is just obviously assigned male at birth. So the same thing as AFAB. It's just what you were assigned when you were birthed and became alive into the world.
Mm-hmm. And in an ideal world, they would mean exactly that. Like, I would say that I'm AFAB, and you wouldn't assume that I had a vagina, but that's really what people understand it to mean. And so I think a lot of the times people don't like using that because it's an immediate descriptor of what genitals they were given.
I see.
Kind of. Yeah. So I'm still seeing it used, but I'm also still seeing people who don't like to use it for that reason. So
yeah, I can't say I've ever used it to describe myself unless, I don't think I've ever used it to describe myself. So I guess that makes sense. Like, because you would immediately be disclosing a lot about yourself that you may not want other people to know.
Right.
Or they don't need to know.
Right.
Unless you wanted them to. Yeah. I see.
Right. If I'm in like a safe place and like I'm talking about my transness, I'll mention that I was assigned female at birth. I'm a trans man. I have a vagina.
Yeah,
that's not something that
conversation.
Right. And I'm not and I'm speaking to people who I know want to hear me talk. And I know people have bodies like mine. And
absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right. So AMAB and AFAB. That's that. And we covered intersex, what that was too.
Yep. Our next one. What you got?
Transmask.
Transmask.
Yeah. Transmask.
Pretty much
transmasculine.
Yeah. So you're being trans. So you're a person who identifies as trans. And it's just describing whether you're more masculine or more feminine in your transness, which doesn't define your transness, doesn't make you trans to be one or the other. But it's some way you can describe yourself. What do you think, Beau? How'd I do?
I love that.
Yeah?
Yeah, great job.
That's what I understood.
Because some people might not want to call themselves a trans man.
Right.
Like, man, that's a really hard binary word.
Yeah, especially if you're non-binary. Yeah.
Right. So there can be trans mask non-binary people, trans feminine non-binary people.
Right.
Because what? Because non-binary people do not owe you androgyny.
They don't have to. They are living their own lives.
Right. And non-binary people can also identify as transmasculine while also dressing feminine. Right.
It's just what it is. It's their journey and how they want to describe it.
Right. They're just clothes. They don't tell us who we are.
Yeah,
as a
really.
person.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I'm wearing a cardigan with a fire demon on them. That does not say anything about me as a person.
It's just what I'm wearing.
I like the sweater.
Exactly. So then we've got MTF and FTM, which are a little easier to explain. Easier on the male to female.
Very similar.
And female to male.
Right.
I do feel like those three letters are very disclosing.
Right. Also, in the same way that AMAB and AFAB are kind of in a way.
Right.
Because you're disclosing your assigned
the whole
gender at birth. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
but some people do describe themselves that way?
Yeah. I haven't seen anyone take issue with the MTF or FTM acronym. And in fact, I see people use it a lot as like a clarifier because people will be like, you'll say that you're transgender and then, they'll be like, well, which...
Right. This is a great opportunity to explain the transgender umbrella. Okay.
Right.
So the umbrella covers a group of people. So you can be trans under this umbrella if you're female to male or male to female or
female to non-binary or intersex to non-binary or intersex to male or intersex to female.
Yeah, all these different journeys and combinations, but they're all still under the umbrella of transgender. I think that's why you often see the asterisk.
Yes,
because that covers the whole thing. Like it's saying we are covering a broad amount of people. And I think that's something a lot of people don't really understand, maybe even in the community, but also in family members of the community. They don't understand that being trans, like there's what really covers being trans and what's really under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think a lot of the people who are even transphobes, deserve to have the knowledge to use their words correctly. And I feel like, especially with me personally, now that I've been on testosterone for a long amount of time, the hate that I get when I do get hate is way more affirming than it ever was because they see beard and man. So they think, and they see like trans.
Right.
So they think that I was assigned male at birth and they think I'm MTF. They think I'm MTF trans. But they don't consider like that what transition does.
Yeah. They don't really understand or know.
Right. So they don't know. So they don't know these words. They're just guessing. They're just throwing them out there.
Right.
So
we're just gonna type it and send it.
Right. So MTF and FTM is just a little clarifier.
That's true. Non-binary. I feel like the word non-binary. I didn't know that ENBY or the letters N and the letter B. I didn't know that all three of those things were the same thing until like a couple months ago, even. I don't know. I just never connected the words. And then once I said it out loud, and I was like, how did I not get that? That's how
I found it. My friend was using NB, ENBY, and I was like we were typing, texting or whatever. And I was like, NB, what the fuck? NB? And then she messaged me NB.
Right.
And I was like, oh, because I always used NB before. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. I love that. It's so cute.
It is a cute way to describe it in a different word. What does it mean to be non-binary, Beau?
Non-binary means that you exist somewhere in between the two binary, meaning two, the two binary genders, which are male, not male, man,
right?
Man and woman,
right?
So woman being over here, man being on the opposite side,
right?
If this was a spectrum, non-binary people exist all in between.
All in between those little
lines.
Which, so in between, they may not have he. That's why they may often use pronouns other than he, him, and she, her.
Right. They might use they, them, which is grammatically correct. I don't care what you say.
You use it all the time.
It's been a singular pronoun since the medieval era. So,
yeah. And what are some pronouns that so they like they, them, they,
right.
They, them, theirs.
They, them, theirs.
Yeah.
So they, them, theirs is really like the only like existing kind of neutral pronoun. That can be used for a singular person. So that's really
broad.
Well, not broad. It's really limiting,
Okay.
So, for the need with the need for more expression, I think, or just like more coverage, like more
words to describe ourselves.
Right. Then came neopronouns. And neopronouns were literally neo meaning new pronouns, new pronouns. So these were words that did not exist before,
right?
But they exist now, and they're pronouns that new pronouns that people use to describe their gender, or their lack thereof, or a combination thereof, and there is like a lot of them. So I'm obviously not going to go through all of them.
Like top three.
Right. Yeah. So like the top three
other than they, that
top three
from this are non-binary. Or it's important to note that combination is allowed.
Yeah,
absolutely. You can like multiple.
Right. There's so many people that switch their pronouns. Like there's bigender people that switch their pronouns based on their gender identity that day. There's, gender fluid people that switch it up or have multiple, or like it when you use, 3 different ones in the same paragraph, there's all different ways.
Yeah.
But the top 3 examples of neopronouns, I hope I say them right. They're Z, Zir, Zirs, and that's spelled with an X. So like XE for Z, XIR for Zir, and XIRS for Zirs. And then there's this one is spelled with a Z.
Yeah.
Or Z for you non-American people. And that's also Z, Zir, Zirs. But
so when you say it out loud, it's pronounced the same, but it's just written different. Is that true?
Right. So the first one, it's all the same spelling, except the first letter is an X or a Z.
I see.
And then the third one is Fae, Fae, fair, Faer, and fairs, Faers.
So
And
this
I
is
like
just
that one. That one's so pretty.
it's like just a variety of pronouns to choose from that aren't so binary. Aren't
Right.
so
And there's other ones.
limiting.
There's so many other ones.
Yeah. I see what okay. So those are some other ones that people can choose, or in combination with the ones they're using now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right, cool. We've got cisgender. I've got that. That's something that I feel like even cisgender people don't know that they are cisgender people. Like you almost have to educate them that is what they are. And then I've had people react and be like, oh, I don't identify as anything. And I'm like, what are you saying? Like, wait, no, like, let me explain this to you. And you're like, and then they're like, oh, okay, then yeah, I definitely am. And I'm like, okay, well, now we know. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a word.
I had that before, and I'm actually seeing that a lot now. It's like,
and cisgender is one
of them.
CIS.
Right. CIS gender. And so yeah, I've seen a growing number of cisgender people getting very offended at being called cisgender, and they seem to really not understand or grasp the concept of what it actually means. And I think they're comparing it with transgender, which would be a good comparison because the two words are the same in that they describe a group of people.
Yeah, and it's describing gender, so they have the same, they rhyme, they're in the same, close to, they're like, okay, no, I'm not any of those things, but really they are. Cisgender is aligning what you, if you align with what you're assigned at birth.
Right.
So if you are assigned female at birth and you feel female, and that means that you are aligning with the birth that you were assigned.
Mm-hmm.
The birth.
Yeah, so you're
the sex that you were
the
assigned.
Gender at birth. Yeah.
Well, this is Toke&Trans. Like, don't forget, people, like, we are stoned, like, and you should be smoking with us if you enjoy that. And if you don't, I'm glad you're here too.
Me too.
Me too. Okay.
So that was cisgender. Oh yeah. So cisgender. So it's all it is an adjective, guys. Yeah. It's just a way to describe the kind of woman that you are, or the kind of man that you are. Just like transgender is the way to describe the kind of man that I am, or the kind of man that Aaron is, or the kind of woman that a trans woman is.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Or the guy, you know, it's just, it's really not that hard. And it's really not offensive. And I see the argument being that, like, I'm a woman. I'm not cisgender. I'm a woman. Right. Okay.
But it's a
type
of woman that you are.
Right. And if you want us to eliminate cisgender, then we also have to eliminate transgender. And that means that transgender women are just women. And I don't think that's what you want.
That's the opposite of what you're yelling at us. So well, yeah, that's cisgender. We got
cisgender.
Dead naming.
Dead naming.
Sometimes people, you may hear someone say, "You dead named me."
Right.
You're like, I did.
Also might be called birth name, because some people, so dead name. Dead naming. The act of dead naming is when you use someone's previous name that they no longer identify with or go by,
that they've expressed to you that they are no longer using.
Yes. This is only applicable if the person knows the new name and knows not to use the old name.
And how that makes you feel.
Right. So sometimes when a trans person transitions, they change their name, because oftentimes the name that they were given at birth can be very gendered in one way or the other, and they may not want to keep it, or they may want to keep it.
Right.
In the case that they do not want to keep it, oftentimes, not always, they will essentially rid themselves of their previous name. They will no longer want to be called by it. And it's very
dead to them.
important. Right. It's dead to them. Therefore, it's a dead name. Now,
Yeah.
some people don't identify with the term dead name for their birth name.
Right.
Because dead name, it kind of suggests that the person whose name that was is dead. And some people don't like to think of their previous selves as having died with their transition, but rather were just given a new life.
Right.
So
we're the same person. Yeah.
Right. But dead naming someone and birth naming someone can be equally as traumatizing for the person on the receiving end.
Right.
And typically, hopefully, cross my fingers, it's not done maliciously or with intent.
Right.
But rather from someone new to the new name. And hopefully they would correct themselves immediately. But
right.
And also in other cases, some people from someone's past could be malicious and have the information of their dead name or birth name and use that maliciously. And in that case, it would be called dead naming, which is, you know, a pretty harmful act.
Right. That really, it can really emotionally fuck someone up, even if it may not seem like a big deal to you. It is a big deal to them. And it's kind of like an emotional punch in the face. Even after all these years, if I meet someone with my dead name, it punches me in the face. And I'm like, it's in my throat. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I wasn't listening to the last sentence you said because I was processing the first two things that you said to me. So yeah, dead naming is definitely a big deal for trans people. So I'm glad we covered that one for them to be able to know. It's not nice. Another not nice one. Another not nice one.
It's not nice.
Kind of like
if
outing.
Right. Yes. Kind of like outing. Outing is another kind of malicious act if done intentionally. And also, like, if not done intentionally, it could ruin someone's life. Yeah, you could really ruin someone's life. Yeah. You could have violence acted upon someone unknowingly by outing them. And outing is the act of disclosing the information that you have of someone's gender identity or sexual orientation when they have not yet disclosed that information publicly themselves.
Right. You're telling them for them. No matter who's in the room.
Right. And this could be something as simple as, this is Aaron, he's my trans friend.
Right.
I don't know if you want them to know that you're trans.
Right. Yeah, I might not feel comfortable in that space for them to know that. That's a lot of disclosing information. And I'm not really trying to get intimate with these people in that way. So you got to know that is intimate. That's the intimate knowledge that's not really yours to it's not yours to share.
It's not yours to share.
Or so it's important to know that you can't just immediately hey this is my trans friend Beau. You can't say it. Like it's not nice. Not nice.
And this is a good time to bring this up since we're talking about dead naming and outing. So before I came out, I was living with my grandparents who were rather phobic, and I was lying about being on testosterone. I told them that the injections were an asthma medication. And my friends all knew. I was out to all my friends, and I was not out to my grandparents. So in front of my grandparents, I needed to be dead named and misgendered, which is another vocab term.
Or they use the wrong pronoun.
Right. When you use the wrong pronoun knowingly.
Yep.
Or accidentally, and hopefully they immediately correct themselves. But so my friends who knew me as Beau and who knew me as he, him, and who would come over so that we could all swim in the pool.
Yeah.
Would have to dead name me and misgender me for my safety.
In front of you.
Right, in front of me, because I told them to. I gave them this strict instruction to do this.
Yeah, if you're going to come over.
Right. If my grandparents start to hear me called Beau and he and
He'll,
dude and all this stuff, they'd be
he'll
like, what
start
the
to know.
fuck?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was not ready for that. And even if you are so sure that they would be affirmed in the company present or welcomed and all that in the company present, it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
No.
That is not your
worth the
information.
risk.
Right.
Right. Yes. Okay. So that's kind of like, well, what about that's kind of like stealth, right? It's kind of like the other way around.
Yeah. Like, so stealth is when a trans person does not disclose that they are trans to anyone.
Right.
They've likely had all their documents changed over to reflect the correct gender marker that they have and the correct name that they go by. Right. They've likely been on hormone replacement therapy for a while. They may or may not have had surgeries, gender affirming surgeries,
or they may bind
to
be more stealth.
Right, to be more stealth. And that is when they go under the radar, when people who come into their contact on a daily basis would assume that they are the gender that they present as, or that they would assume that they are cisgender and not transgender.
Right.
And people may want to do this for many reasons. I think the main one is safety and comfort.
Yeah, definitely safety and comfort. Absolutely. You don't want to always be answering those questions and always, that may not be something that makes you feel comfortable or even makes you feel safe, and maybe in the workplace or maybe at home or anywhere like that. And at this point, I think it's a kind of way to tie in the word passing too. In this point, a lot of times the people that are able to live stealthily where no one knows that they are trans, they are passing as their preferred gender. And passing is where someone else perceives you as the gender that you feel affirmed as.
Right. So you're passing as cis.
Right.
Which, whatever, it's gross.
It's more like appealing to other people instead of like, what do you like to wear? What makes you comfortable?
Right.
But
some would say that I do not pass. I don't think I pass. I have a pretty high voice and I'm dropping it now that I said that.
No.
I wear like girly things in pink, obviously, and I don't know.
That doesn't mean
it doesn't mean anything. Even if I don't pass as a man, guess what? I still am.
Doesn't mean a damn thing, really, because that's your opinion of me, right? And like I'm working on myself and me and what I like about myself, and that's what Beau likes about himself. So, you can fuck off about that. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, otherwise, like when people are hateful to people like that, it can cause dysphoria. To trans people. And gender dysphoria is a very important term to describe the discomfort of your identity and how you feel as a person not aligning with your assigned gender at birth. Is that true, Beau?
Yeah, that is true. And this is semantics. Yeah. You are correct.
No, yeah, please teach me. I want to know more.
Dysphoria can come in many different forms, We've talked about this in previous episodes that I had because I had top surgery, chest dysphoria. But I do not have dysphoria about my genitals.
Right.
Why did I look down and point?
Look down like they're right there. You're just looking at them.
He's right there.
No, I don't have dysphoria. You don't have dysphoria about.
Right. So it's not so much my assigned gender at birth.
I see. Yeah.
It's
right.
it's really, if we're going to break it down, if we're going to get a little maybe pseudo intellectual about it.
Do it.
Because my dysphoria isn't centered around my vagina.
Right.
It's really centered around how I am perceived by others.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel comfortable in the box labeled woman.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just got like a weird chill. I'm sorry.
I was right.
That's dysphoria.
I was cool having the little, vagina purse they gave me. That was cool. But once they stuck me in the woman box, I was like, no.
Not what I was thinking. That wasn't the vibe we were going for.
Yeah, no, I don't like this club. Like, let's go somewhere else. And then I walked next door with my little vagina purse and I walked into the man club and I was like, wait. This is nice.
This is just fine. So your dysphoria didn't have anything to do with your assigned gender at birth. Your dysphoria is just your discomfort
with being perceived as a woman.
Right. Because that wasn't your box that you wanted to be in.
Right. It wasn't my box. And also, it's hard to imagine, especially when you've had one body for so long and you also didn't have the language or the knowledge of like surgeries or affirming garments or any of that. And when you're a teenager, or at least me, when I was a teenager, I was allowed to express myself very masculine, I was a tomboy and
unquote.
That right. And that kind of, that was affirming. I liked being a tomboy.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm like, fuck yeah, I am.
Right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, call me a tomboy again.
Say that again.
A tomboy.
Something's close here. I can just
my pronouns are Tom, she, Tom, her.
And your dysphoria.
Oh, right. So my dysphoria really increased as my chest did.
Yeah. And that's where you felt your dysphoria.
Right. And people think, anti-trans people would say that that's like a phase that like every child developing would have that feeling of being uncomfortable in their newly developing body. And I get that. But then I was 30 with 48 double Ds.
And still feeling that way?
Yeah, and I've been on testosterone for like 5 years.
So
and I have a beard and these big fat titties.
Oh.
And it's just uncomfortable, bro.
Yeah, I get you. I got you. And that's why a lot of people use binding, right? Another term we got to help with their dysphoria with their chest. So specifically with their chest, they'll use traditional style binders or trans tape, stuff like that, to be able to use their chests and secure their chests in a way where they don't bounce around, but it's not a bra where it's helping enhance them, because that is like the complete opposite of what we're trying to do. Back in the day, people would bind with duct tape and ace bandages and go all the way around, and it was just horrible. It's horrible for your body. It's horrible for your organs. Your body wasn't designed to be like that. So there's been people working very hard to find different solutions for people to bind in more safe ways, not going all the way around, just securing the tissue to the sides, or using compression garments that are safe and designed for binding specifically.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. Or
build it.
Or you could pack, right? So
yeah,
you have dysphoria on top, but you also can have dysphoria down below.
Right.
Or you could just enjoy the art of packing, which is using a phallic object to appear as a male bulge. Is that true?
A penis shaped stress ball. Shove it down your pants.
A sock. A sock.
A sock. Yeah. A sock.
Sock is a good one. Yeah.
It's a great one.
Pretty much anything to have a bulge appear for a self-affirming purpose.
Yeah.
That helps your dysphoria. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true.
My
and
God.
I think that packing is super personal.
Oh yeah.
Where like binding, I think, is really for like how you perceive me.
Mhm.
You know, like I need this flat chest because if I go tits forward, you know, I'm gonna be not perceived like a man. But I will
outed.
Right. But I will if I have a flatter chest.
Right.
So, but like packing for me as someone with no bottom dysphoria,
right.
It's pointless to me with no bottom dysphoria.
Right.
Because I don't have any bottom dysphoria. And I think that that's
but there's really no purpose.
Right. And it's not a perceived, I'm like, no one is looking at my crotch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one is looking so hard at everyone's crotch unless they're fucking weirdo. And if they're looking that hard, you got other problems to worry about.
Other concerns that you should probably check out. Yeah,
Right.
I agree. It's more of an intimate thing. I mean, like there's like, it's literally what's in your pants and like what you chose to put in your pants. Like,
right.
It's very intimate knowledge. If I were, sometimes when I pack, when I pack specifically, I don't want anyone to be able to see that it's there. I don't want you to know it's there, mainly because I'm very out. I'm not living a stealth life. So for me, I'm uncomfortable with that. But if my wife reaches for me and I want it to be there, I'm going to have it be there. You know, that's for me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that's between me and my wife. Right. But that's not for, these random people to identify. That's just, that's not for them. It's more for me.
What happens in your marital bed is between you, your wife, and the Lord.
You're so funny. The very last vocab word we got for you guys today is tuck. Tucking. Beau, explain tucking for me.
So tucking is like in the same category as packing. Like it's a gender affirming thing to do for your bottom half. And so trans women are typically assigned male at birth, and that usually means they have external genitalia.
Right.
And tucking is a way to kind of flatten out the bulge so that it appears as though they do not have external genitalia.
Not there anymore. Yeah, it's for them. They don't want that to be showing.
Right. And that can be done with garments, same as like how a traditional binder is a gender affirming garment. There are gender affirming garments for tucking called gaffs, which can also have like a seam going up the middle to kind of simulate the vulva shape. Right. If you're wearing like something very tight and maybe you want to be perceived differently. And there's also tape that you can use for tucking, especially for tucking, including trans tape. And there's also the swim bottoms that you can get that are kind of like gaffs that do that. And
I've seen those. Yeah.
It's
an affirming way for you to be able to present as you like.
Yeah.
And it can also extremely help with their dysphoria as well.
Yeah. And like with anything that compresses your body, it's important to be safe when applying and make sure you do your research.
Absolutely.
Follow the rules if there's any rules with application and wear.
Take breaks.
Yep.
Absolutely. You want to be safe. We want you to be as safe as possible. You know, we love you guys. We
need you happy and healthy and here.
At your best self. And we are here to help you do that. So I hope I hope these vocab words were helpful for you today. I know they were helpful for me. And so I'm glad we were recorded this conversation and we weren't just having this conversation. And I'm glad you guys were here for our conversation. And if you have some words or some nice words or some helpful, educational, friendly words, definitely drop words. Yeah, help us below. Drop them below. Let us learn from each other. And we appreciate you guys listening to this episode.
Leave a comment if your grandma listened.
Oh my God, yes. If you're a grandma who listened, or if your grandma said they did listen, an extra special gold star goes to you. And we love you just as much as everyone else, but a little bit extra.
A little bit extra.
Enjoy your guys' week. We love you, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.